thanks for that Prime Gaming sub. We see you.
Hello and welcome back to day 3 of the SMITE Masters event. Our first best of 1 is now complete, and we're moving into our second best of 1 to get these teams seeded up for the remainder of our day. We're going to have the Eldritch Hounds up against Hex Mambo. Before we get to that, let me talk to you about our good friends over at Prime Gaming, who's our sponsor here in Season 9 of the SPL. Make the most of your Amazon Prime subscription by subscribing yourself to Prime Gaming. You get all kinds of cool content for the games that you're already playing, and if any of those games caught your interest in that little trailer up ahead, you can download one of those for yourself if you got that Prime Gaming. Also, a cool Twitch Prime sub to your favorite streams. Why don't you use that over here at twitch.tv/SmiteGame. If you don't have Amazon Prime already, you should be getting that because you get free 2-day shipping on some of the great products that you already are probably buying everywhere else. Get shipped straight to your home. You don't have to worry about going out and getting anything there. So thank you so much to Prime Gaming for being the sponsor of Season 9 of the SPL. I'm J-Mac. I got Mifflin with me as we get ready to break down our second set of the game on two teams that haven't had a chance to play against each other and also have two very different styles of play.
Yeah, Hex Mambo is the most distinctly European team that I think I may have ever seen. I'm even qualifying them back with like the Euro NA split in the SPL where there was that distinct of a difference. Hex Mambo is certainly a product of that era. They love playing for that late game, whereas the Eldritch Hounds, I think, a little bit more likely to bring aggression in the early, so I'm really excited for this set. Similar to what Dave said for the last one, could be a clashing of the minds.
We'll have to see exactly how that one breaks down once we jump into the game. But as far as the schedule is concerned, our first game of the day is completed with the Callan Wardens finding a victory over the Niflheim Wargs. Now we'll have the Hounds and the Hex Mambo facing off. Winner of that will move on to face off against the Wardens. The loser will move down to face against the Niflheim Wargs for elimination on that one. Meanwhile, the best of 3, the winners, will have a chance to qualify, and then if they lose, well, then they're going to have to face potential knockout there. But talking about this Hex Mambo squad, I mean, this is one that they're definitely playing for the late game probably more than any single team out here, especially with the styles of picks. Deathwalker in that solo lane, I think specifically going for these much more late game slanted style of Guardian picks in a meta where we weren't really expecting many Guardian solos.
But there is a downside for having that, I suppose, steadfast of a style. We haven't really seen Hex Mambo adjust to play that early game or maybe even look towards mid-game. It's not as if they transition themselves to that 30-minute mark by playing through objectives. And every single team here has taken notice. It's, hey, are we going to just allow Hex Mambo to stalemate us until they get to the point that they want to play? Or are we going to try and bring some early game aggression? I've been hearing a lot of rumbling in the studio that some of these teams have got an idea of how they want to tackle this distinctly European style, but it has been working for Hex Mambo because of how very, very talented each one of their individual players are. Johnny, Zeros, Trixtank, Echrome, Deathwalker, all have been doing this for an incredibly long time. And it sounds simple. Oh, if they want to wait till 30 to play against us, that gives us 30 minutes to play against them without any fight back. No, they will still show up to these objectives to slow you down. They'll be right on top of their timers every single time. It is a clear, definitive play style for this team, but one that is very, very easy to apply if you've got 6-7 years of tenure practicing it.
I mean, it's that slippery slope of a trap there where you think, okay, yeah, sure, I've got 30 minutes to prepare for this, but really it's you have 30 minutes to prepare for what's to come. The storm,
you have a 30-minute timer.
The storm that is waiting immediately after you going there. And as you said, a very tenured team out here, between 4 SPL players and then Echrome, a veteran amongst the amateurs at the very least here. They're going up against the Eldritch Hounds, a bit younger of a team for some of these players as far as their competitive is concerned. Erupt Crimson coming from all the console days, and then a lot of the other players here are mostly just coming from their SCC and SOC times.
Yeah, we've got some SCC lifers on this squad. Quig and Renjaru stand out to me as players that have been playing at this level for a very good while, but it is crazy to say that one of my buddies from the console days might be one of the most veteran players of this team. Erupt Crimson through mid. There have been memes surrounding this guy for a very long time. I got to confirm with him a little bit earlier today that he actually wasn't keyboard and mousing on the box back then. He's just that sick on both the sticks and the keyboard. So I'm very excited to see how these guys elect to play. Generally, Crimson teams have all got this one through line. It's play through Crimson. They love to facilitate that Thoth. They know that get him to the late game, get him the items that he needs. He's going to land his abilities in these high-stakes scenarios, and he's built a very, very strong team around himself. Dude Man Bro in particular has had a very good run in the last couple events that he's come out to. One of the most charismatic guys you'll get to hear, very excitable, and one that will bring the 1v1 to you in the lane. So I'm very excited to see what he's able to do up against his opposition in E-Chrome on the other side. But I think you are right to say that Hex Mambo, waiting for the 30-minute mark. Eldritch Hounds, I think, likely will be trying to bring that fight a little bit earlier on, but that's not to say that they aren't capable similarly of playing that late game style, especially with some of these heavy hitters in the carry roles.
And then you got players like Oath coming out of the jungle for the Eldritch Hounds
How
team.
did I forget about Oath?
Yeah, like how do we forget about a man who brings out some of the most eclectic picks amongst the SCC junglers? And this is even including Sino in that mix, who's doing things like Scotty and Isa, but he's taking the more traditional picks and making them look damn near unstoppable. I mean, when he gets his hands on Set, Susano, even things like Ao Kwong, you always got to worry. But we do have the mid laner for the Hounds standing by, and he's finally here in the studio to talk to us a little bit. We got Crimson standing by for our pregame interview. First off, congrats on making it here into day number 3. For the fans at home who may not have known why you weren't here, I mean, what brings you finally to the studio now?
So I just took my last undergraduate final Friday. So yeah, I graduated undergrad.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you. I still expect to go to grad school, so not done yet, but done for now at least.
Hey, well, congrats on making it that far, at least with your educational career. Now, we got to talk about your competitive career. You're here on day number 3. You're going up against Hex Mambo, this team that is definitely much more late game slanted, not much like we get to see over with the North American SCC. What are some of the talks to your team on trying to tackle this guy?
Well, we like playing pressure, right? So we're probably just going to jam it and then just outperform them early game, because our mid-late game is kind of weak compared to our early game. So probably just jam it and pressure our lead.
Yeah, maybe hope out that works for you guys. Talking about you specifically when it comes out to here, we hear a lot of rumors about how good your thought. Not even rumors. We've seen how good your thought is. And Mifflin said that you did manage to actually squash the rumor that you weren't using mouse and keyboard. I mean, when it comes to thought, is that just the comfort pick for you? That's just the go-to one you want to jam it with?
Yeah. Thought for some reason, just like to me, is just like the easiest mechanical god. It seems like beyond easy to hit everything. So, and even on console with using thumbs. So yeah, Thoth is probably my main comfort pick.
Well, there we go. Well, thank you for coming by for the pregame interview. I'll get back with the team. That way you guys can get set up.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, fresh out of his undergraduate program, now still wanting to go a little bit further. Now coming back with a competitive career to try and move on. They got a tall task up against the Mambo and even against the remainder of the opposition today, if Crimson and the Hounds want a chance to face off against the SPL talent tomorrow.
Yeah, and that was a very candid interview, wasn't it, as well? It's not often that these players will come out and tell you, yeah, this is my pick. I want to play that one. I think it's me at my best. Also, our early game much stronger than our late game. He said weaker, not weak, so those of you at home who see the clock tick onward, as I'm sure it will during this match, don't worry too much about the Eldritch Hounds. I'm sure they're still certainly capable of bringing the fight to Hex Mambo, but I trust them. With Crim saying, I'm looking for the early game. That's exactly what this team wants to do, and if we can outscale Hex Mambo in the first 20 or so minutes, that is one of the strategies that you can employ to beat this distinctly European style. Seems like they've done their homework. I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, more power to them if they found a way. And just only watching, a couple of sets of games, if they've been able to figure out Hex Mambo, that's a very impressive task to have accomplished here. And up against his opposition in the mid lane, Zeros has been playing a lot of this Baba Yaga, definitely much more of these late game slanted style of mages, ones that they have these much later scalings out here. Thoth is definitely one that can fight when it comes to the late game. We know how much damage the Thoth can do up against things like Baba Yaga.
Yeah, there are about 4 picks that I would associate very closely with Zeros. Baba Yaga, Chang'e, the Thoth in his own right, and I suppose things like the Yanis tend to peek their head in there every now and then, but the common line is all of those matchups are not great into Thoth, unless he's taking Thoth for himself, and I'm sure Hex Mambo probably listening in, hearing that Eldritch Hounds likely do want that pick, might either decide to ban it or confirm it for Zeros very early on in the draft. Could be one way to tackle some of those poorer matchups, but I am very excited to see it. Zeros is a very veteran player, world champion, by the way. So,
oh, really?
Well, Crimson as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got some world champions.
World champion mid lane matchup.
Yeah, Doug, I know you're listening right now. Just keep the cam in mid. I've hyped myself up.
I think you've hyped everybody up at this point, but it's not just the mid laners around here that really we need to keep a focus on. The junglers as well. Johnny has always been a playmaker for the teams that he's been a part of, even when he was on the Valkyries. Even despite some of the weirder picks that he's taking to the jungle, the ones that he has been able to make some waves on, namely things like the Loki and the Hun Bats, are definitely ones to keep your eyes on. As we jump into picks and bans for our best of 1 game, between the Hounds and the Hex Mambo. A lot of picks to be taken away, and the Hounds are not going to let this Geb get through. They don't want to have to deal with that one, so they'll take it away right away.
Yeah, I believe it was Kabam yesterday, one of our admins tweets out, hey, if I ever see a Geb and a Khepri in my game, I'm probably just alt F4 him, because it is so frustrating to play against these picks come late game, especially the style of Geb that Hex Mambo has been locking in. This early game damage finally rotates out at level 20, still has about 3,500 HP, but is also one-shotting your backline with Cataclysm and Shockwaves. So I think it's right on the Hounds to go ahead and target that. And speaking of targeted bans, Baba Yaga joins that column. Hex Mambo show a lot of their strategy over the last couple of the days, and, well, the Eldritch Hounds have the opportunity to study up, but that's not to say the Mambo hasn't been doing the exact same. Both Yamoja and Jingwei have served the Eldritch Hounds very, very well, not only this week, but throughout the entirety of the year.
Maybe another targeted ban with this Nemesis now taken away by the Hounds. Though, maybe a little bit more of a general ban overall, but Johnny has been top 2ing this god when given the opportunity for Hex Mambo. And then one final ban, the Ul, out of Hex Mambo to take that one away from some of these mid laners and even some of the hunters still out there. So now it comes down to the Hounds. There's a lot of picks available to themselves. Baron Samdi, Kleena are the first two that immediately come to mind. And the Hounds will make sure to grab Kleena, so they'll grab that Assassin early on for that solo lane.
They will. Hex Mambo now have got the opportunity to take away that Thoth if they so choose. I think if Mambo don't take it here, it is very likely that the Hounds will look towards it in their next 2 slots. But generally, Hex Mambo like to wait a little bit longer on Zeros' picks, and, well, a lot of Zeros' God pool is still available. Only Baba Yaga targeted out. Oh, I forgot about his Hera as well, so some versatility for Zeros in mid. Generally, you could expect a Guardian selection, especially considering we've already seen 2 Guardians banned out, Yamoja and Geb, 2 of the highest priority. Things like Khepri and Bacchus still stand out to me as picks that work very well in 9-5. But Hex Mambo biding their time and seeing what it is exactly they want to pick. And they're going to have to think, because a Kleena lock-in on the other side doesn't reveal anything about your draft, except for the fact that Kleena is going to be on it. You don't know if that's going to solo, whether or not it's going to jungle, if it's going to be that bruiser, or whether or not it's going to be that hyper carry out of the jungle too. So instead, Hex Mambo, with their first selection, take essentially a plug-and-play pick that is likely headed for mid. Zeros locks in the Tiamat.
And then a Hades in response for Deathwalker over in the solo lane. And I want to maybe dial back in towards one of the selections that you said is still available, the one that's been largely absent so far this tournament has been that Bacchus. That seems to be one that fits right up Trixtank's playstyle. I mean, he really loves these hyper-aggressive picks, the Kumakarns, the Sobeks of the world, even maybe throw Fafnir in there at some points. I'm curious as to why we haven't seen Bacchus at all just yet.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well, especially considering I think, to this day, Bacchus still is one of the best, if not the legitimate best late-game Guardian. He is tankier than everyone else. That's just the case. With Chug, how it operates, with the itemization that Guardian's allowed to go towards, really does make him a behemoth in the late game. So hard to shut him down. Maybe it's the changes to the early game laning phase. Bacchus, certainly not a slouch in the early phases, really does want to get that aggression rolling, belly flop into the Belch, a phenomenal kill combo. But nowadays, when you're kind of walking in a lane with 1,000 HP at level 1, it's a little bit harder to get that aggressive ball rolling. So maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit less of Bacchus. Thoth is taken by the Eldritch Hounds, as is Rom, an incredibly strong backline with very, very strong artillery presence. Thoth can poke from further away than anyone in the game, and if he can't quite finish off his kills, and Crimson generally does finish off his own kills, Rom will be right behind him to make sure nobody's getting away.
Ooh, the Loki pick. A couple of bans went to this god against Johnny specifically in previous sets, but now we'll finally see him get to kind of reprise this role. I mean, when Johnny was in the SPL on the Valkyries, this is a pick that he got, I think like one time in phase 1 of the SPL, and then never got it again until like the tail end of phase 3. So it's a god that he has a lot of tenure on. It's one that teams have been very afraid of. We'll see if he can perform back up to that same level of competition with that in this game. And as we jump into the second round of bans, with some of these Guardians still up and available, and with Mambo getting the first selection out of this ban phase, they're going to take Khepri off the board and remove some of that safety.
Yeah, I'm thinking Johnny is just really happy about this Loki selection. Not only is it one of his signature picks and one that has served him very well during his time in the SPL, but also has a very strong matchup into both Thoth and Rom, even Kleena to a certain extent. Thoth, if you can close gap onto him without him realizing you're even there, the bleed damage from the Vanish, so incredibly strong. It's very often we'll see Thoth reaction, evade, and punish away immediately. Doesn't want to have to deal with that flurry strikes from Loki. And that's when Assassinate comes through and you've got nothing left in the tank, and you're likely going to fall down. The matchup in a ROM, similarly, is Loki closes gap and tries to apply his burst as quickly as possible. ROM, generally in that scenario, will go up into the air and try and buy some time for his team to rotate in. Unfortunately for ROM, going up into the air doesn't remove the poison, so Loki applies a whole lot of damage very quickly to 2 picks that are generally very difficult to dive. So I think Johnny certainly will be able to find some decent matchups, at least in that late game phase as well. I mean, once these dances start around the Fire Giant, Thoth is going to be acting pseudo frontline as he wants to apply that poke. Stand too far up, might have a Loki on you.
As the second wave of bans close out, it's Mercury banned away by Hex Mambo and then Double Hunter with Heimdall Chernobog, and that leaves open Hachiman for Ikram, a god that we haven't seen very much of this tournament. But Hachiman always seems to be one of those hunters that you can just drop into just about any team comp and never really feels like he has a bad meta to play in. Do you think that this is a comp that the Hachiman could work for?
Yeah, I mean, if Hachiman is going to be acting as a solo agent in the backline, and as of now, that seems to be the case, Tiamat more often than not is acting in the front line with everybody else, wants to get in that quadrupedal stance and apply her CC, apply her melee range damage. That means that Hachiman really is the only one that's going to be the recipient of the majority of the dive from the Eldritch Hounds. Well, you can hop on Epona, get out of dodge. You've got EI Jutsu as well. He's one of the safest hunters in the game. Used to be the safest, but Heimdall and Jingwei seem to have taken that title away from him. But he does fit the new style of build very, very well. Utilizes the Silver Branch thanks to the Heavenly Banner stim, can move in towards those kin size and crit items if he so chooses, and will scale eventually into the late game to become a hunter nonetheless. That said, he also has an incredibly safe landing phase, so things like Set, which has now been locked in for the Eldritch Hounds, will have a great deal of difficulty closing gap onto this guy.
Athena and Set, the last 2 gods locked in for the Eldritch Hounds. So finally some setup, maybe a little bit of peel at the very least with this Athena and that support role on the side of the Hounds, something for Quig to try and get active with early. And if Krim needs help, which he usually doesn't in order to land those ultimates, does have a way to set that one up and maybe peel for that team set, something that Oath has been playing a lot of recently and doing a lot of winning and killing with this god. So no surprise to see that. And then the Kumbhakarn has a final pick for Trix Tank, one of his favorite picks this season, one that he was playing a lot last time around. Mifflin, how do you feel about the Kumbhakarn up against this Hounds draft?
I love Kumbhakarna here. I mean, he's got great matchups yet again. If Athena's dashing in to confound every single time, you can answer it with either the Epic Uppercut or the Mez to peel out for your team very quickly on reaction. And he's got Kumbhakarna that is one of the best abilities to deal with channeled abilities. If you have a channeled ultimate like Zhong Kui does, like Set does, just Epic Uppercut him. Remove him from the map. Oh, okay. You're in Kingslayer. Very cool. You're also 50 meters in the air and going to take a lot of damage on landing. So I really like what Kumbhakarna is bringing to this composition for Hex Mambo. Looking at the entirety of the draft, 5-on-5, and stop me if you heard this before, 30 minutes in, Hex Mambo probably will just outscale and win in the team fight. But that's something the Eldritch Hounds have shared with us. They know that's exactly what's going to happen. We heard it in the interview from Crimson. They're not looking for that 30-minute mark. They want to win out within the early game. So you got to evaluate how well can the Eldritch Hounds push a lead if they're able to establish it. And it's very well. You've got phenomenal objective burn potential between this ROM and this Set. Athena can act as that zoner for you. Kleena adds up to that burn as well. Who's got the best confirmation on the map? It's Thoth. So as long as the Hounds can find something to get the ball rolling early and transition in towards these objectives, it might be able to be enough of a lead come 30 minutes that Hex Mambo's draft, which is incredibly strong and scary, and I would never want to play against in a 30-minute game, might be enough of a lead for the Hounds that they don't have to worry as much about it.
In order to get to those objectives, there does need to be some kind of pressure established in one lane or another. So if you are the Eldritch Hounds, Mifflin, which of those lanes are you putting your priority in? If you're Oath, which of those lanes are you trying to run it down to get the best advantage for your team?
It depends on power scaling and how quickly Oath is leveling up, but just blanket statement, moving in towards Hades, probably going to be one of the most consistent gank spots for this set. Similarly, if he could just follow Loki around, Loki doesn't really win that 1v1 until he's about 2 or 3 items into his build. So there are a couple of avenues to get aggressive. It's not the easiest task in the world to shut down a Tiamat. It's nearly impossible to kill a Hachiman once he's ticked over to level 5, and even harder at level 12. Kumbhakarna, Hades, and Loki are the 3 targets I think the Hounds are going to try and exploit throughout the early game.
Looking at this Hades specifically from Deathwalker, one thing that I've been noticing with his build path is going for this very early damage item, things like the Bancroft's Talon, and then building a lot of defense. And then late game, I've been noticing that he's been selling that Bancrofts to go towards things like Alona's Mask or an Oni Hunter's Garb for a little bit extra. We'll see how this game goes between the Eldritch Hounds and the Hex Mambo. Game number 1 right now.
Hounds versus Mambo, a clash of two different ideologies as far as how to play Smite. Dolson, Ro, and Doug will be bringing you the action. And Ro, I think in a similar fashion to what we had in Game 1, where a high-octane team and in the Wardens and a slower-paced team on the other side.
The same narrative, isn't it?
Could get a similar narrative here.
Yeah, look, J-Mac and Mifflin set it up well on the desk, and we saw it yesterday. It is the same narrative, but now we're seeing these two teams, or two regions especially, kind of really be diverse between them. So that Eldritch Hounds going deep into the early game, and the Hex Mambo sticking with their guns and sticking with the late game. That being said, they don't have bad fight. Deathwalker will have a lot of clear, so he will have decent pressure. Remakami, again, though, will have that sustain when he gets the Soul Eater online. Loki's going to take a little while to scale. I think it's all up to Oath. Put the pressure on, find those opportunities to gank, especially with an Athena ult, right? He can kind of just be surprising and look to gank, secretly as a jungler normally would, but then add on the Athena ult as well.
All right, send Quig in, a little extra pressure in that lane. I want to stick right here over in solo lane because a unique matchup. We've seen plenty of Kleednas, but haven't seen a Kleedna versus a Hades. And maybe Hades is what makes it interesting. Deathwalker hits and auto attack at some point in there. No starter item. And then I think it's Bancroft's is what he usually likes going here.
He'll go Bancroft's into a defense item, and then he'll probably, around then, he'll start the Boombas because he's going to start needing that jungle clear. Otherwise, it's really hard for him.
You think you lose something without the starter?
No, not really. He has enough power anyway. He actually gains probably lane pressure is what he gains. And he has no problem securing that blue buff until then. But once that blue buff scales up a little bit, he will need that Boombas. We saw him in another game yesterday. He was able to, that 2-3 combo. You get the Blight, get the 3 big burst damage, add the Boombas bonus damage on top of that, and you can secure a blue buff from almost half its health. So it's really hard to out-secure a Hades, especially on like a more dot character. We see a lot of numbers from Murakami, but they are smaller numbers, that's all.
My goodness, Krim is just handling this mid lane right now. Small moments. Nothing massive to be gained just yet, but Crimson on Thoth is such a strong combo. And congrats to Crimson, finishing his undergrad degree. Now makes it live here in the studio. A boost for the Eldritch Hounds, to be sure. Up against Zeros on this team out on the flip side. Trixtank attempting to contest the side Harpies over here in the duo lane. Crimson under some pressure from Johnny as well, though Oath makes his way towards mid. Lots of damage out from Zeros, and Zeros jumps in. Crimson uses the beads, avoids the knockup. That's a bit of a flipping of the script. Hex Mambo are on the back foot on the first couple of waves, and now the Eldritch Hound's the one's feeling the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's Crimson's playstyle as well, to get that pressure in the mid lane, and he gave Oath room to go and do those oracles. Oath got the left camps as well, while Johnny and Zeros went to get the right camps, and then once they're all level 3, that matchup starts to even out a little bit, and we saw Zeros and Johnny actually taking it in the mid lane. I'm
intrigued how the support matchup looked throughout the game. You've mentioned, I think for good reason, the rotation ability of Quig.
Yep.
Put your ultimate on top of Oath, help out with some of those ganks. Trixtank and Kumba, those two just go together. I think if you're covering up the team names at the top of a draft, you see a Kumba Karna locked in, I'm assuming it's going to be Deathwalker or Trixtank. I'm assuming that's a Hex Mambo draft. What do you think Kumba's bringing to the table?
Look, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of a pressure, but that's why he's keeping this hog. There he uses it. He knows Quig's going to invade because they have the duo pressure, but he keeps the hog for the second purple buff, so there's no chance of them losing it there.
Smart play for Trixtank. Johnny sticks around over in the mid lane. Oath just shy of level 5 as well. Another unique pick that we don't often get to see is this Loki. However, in the days of previous Loki iterations, Johnny loved this style of pick.
He did.
And might still like this style of pick with the current iteration of Loki. Not something we've seen often in competitive play.
No, but it is another Boombas Hammer's god, and they love that Boombas Hammer from yesterday. So if they can get it online again, he'll be a huge threat. But it is going to take him a little while to get there. Thankfully, on the other side, Oath has chosen to go for the Transcendence as well, so he won't have too much pressure for Johnny to contest with, but it is still going to take a little while.
Myth figured you could see Oath active early in this game. Double Mez, the root connects onto 2, but Oath is the priority 1. First blood around the corner, And it's Oath who grabs it.
give it
The
to him.
Hounds give it over to the jungler.
Yeah, look, he needs to control the pace of this game, so give him the early gold. Quig's going to get level 5 regardless, so he'll be in those fights regardless. He is just the utility, he is just the setup, so thankfully Oath, on his side as well, he didn't have to blow the beads. He avoided the Mez, I believe, and Trix Tank's still not level 5, so can't peel for himself any other way apart from that route, which Oath has no problem teleporting around.
Johnny attempting to invade some back camps here.
Small punish for Oath is on the other side of the map, so a small punish for him, spending time on the other
what
side
you
of the map. Yeah, exactly. Not quite enough, first blood a bit more important than that counts.
Yeah, a tad more important than some back harpies. Oath able to get the rest of his jungle. Nonetheless, that being said, yeah, if Quig had stolen that, that would have been worst case scenario. Dude, man, bro, you can make an argument, but a good spot for the kill to land. Onto Oath. Blue buff invade for Deathwalker. Gets dropped, though. And here's the ultimate in from Quig. Deathwalker taunted through, beats down. Is there enough damage, though? Should be.
Might have the lifesteal.
Once you go into the ultimate, and Oath gets another, and the stage has been set by the desk, and the set is stepping onto the stage. 2 kills early on for the Eldritch Hounds jungler.
That's right. I mean, that's exactly what they need. Unfortunately, they are going to lose a purple buff on the other side unless Dude Man Bro dashes in and tries to secure it himself. He doesn't, goes for a little poke instead.
Whoa, Dude Man Bro actually taking a
seen
bit of
this
a
before.
scrap. We have seen something very similar to this before, and Dude Man Bro not backing down from a 2 versus 1
Ambitious,
task.
I would say.
Although maybe realizing nobody from Hex Mambo rotating to the left side of the map. You got a solo contest the purple buff. No, he'll
he
head
gives
on
it up,
back to lane. Just fine. So Transcendence completed now for Oath. Remakami gets the Soul Eater online. It is back to that full 5 stacking item start
Again.
for the Eldritch Hounds. Charon's coin need to be a little bit more active in the fights to get it done.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about the Hounds and their playstyle?
Look, it's no history. I mean, it's no secret in history. Stacking items are strong. You just need to get the stacks. And in a meta like this, where it is guaranteed to be a slightly bit slower, even though Eldritch Hounds will be pushing the issue, like I said, you still have space and time to get those stacking items online. If they're going to be strong, then you may as well buy them.
Might as well get them. Hex Mambo, they're likely also getting those styles of items, and so you can still play a fast-paced game if the other team also stacking up some of those items, which they are. Zero's just a bit behind over in the mid lane. How about the damage from Oath, though? Deathwalker will make it up and over the wall, but you can tell how strong Oath feeling.
That's right.
Solo invading with 3 members of Hex Mambo looking at him. Kleedna rotates out of the solo lane. It's Remakami just to play safety. And I like that's a good mentality from Oath and a good mentality from Quig to rotate in towards mid. Beads have to be used by Johnny. Final Judgment flies, but comes up just a bit short.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit ambitious from Oath there. I think he's pushing the issue a little too much when he didn't have the Athena roll. Yeah, Athena roll is up now, and they're able to dash taunt Johnny in mid and get some beads. So maybe the next target Oath looks for will be that Loki. He could ult away, but, a chase down from Athena is possible.
Yeah, that's smart. Now with beads off of Johnny, let's take a fight over on the right side of mid. It is Trix Tank with a triple mez, but it is Trix Tank who will die again, and for the 3rd time this game, the set starting to spin up those wheels just a bit. The mindset is now clear. Let's play around this set as best as we can. And it's got to be difficult for Hex Mambo with the way that set is able to play to avoid all of that.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the pick. That's why he picked it, right? They need to push these kills early. They've only got a 2k lead. I don't know if, Hex Mambo's sweating too much yet, but they have to be more concerned than they have been in those other games from yesterday.
Where's the XP? 300 for Hex Mambo. Somehow kept them in the XP lead. I guess it's mid over for Zeros, who's been able to pull a 1-level lead there.
And I would imagine Ikram has a small lead as well, because he did get that one purple buff.
Got that 1 purple buff
Quig's not going to make this one easy, though.
No, Crimson, despite being a little bit of experience behind, still fine on this Thoth. Now has a stack on the Charon's coin, a great rotation over. Now fully stacked Soul Eater for the Kleedna. So over the next few minutes, this is because it's such a unique strategy from Hex Mambo to give over something like Kleedna and Remakami. I mean, such a strong pick out of the solo lane. Sure. Receive some pressure over on right already from Oath. A couple of assists in the back pocket. And it's these next few moments where Oath can really continue, I suppose, to take this game over.
Yeah, look, Deathwalker could flip it a little bit, you know, once he starts to get his breastplate online, which I imagine he'll go next, or another physical defense item against this set and this cleaner. He'll match the sustain of the cleaner because he has the inbuilt healing in his kit. Plus, yeah, he's going breastplate, at least some kind of it. And he has the Bancrofts as well, so he has that sustain as well. So, you know, he should get a little bit pressure. We saw Oath kind of poke him out. That won't happen once he has that physical defense.
That was a nice little steal away from Quig. You drain the Obelisk and actually give yourself a Trebuchet. And that's a small moment that could make a big impact. Quig, smart and on point with the Obelisk invade. Hex Mambo are close to completing the Obelisk themselves, but a steal away gives the Trebuchet, an early Trebuchet to the Hounds. And when teams have this early game mindset, and you're able to get that Trebuchet rolling, could add to some early pressure.
Yeah, I would say unfortunately it is in the dual lane, so they couldn't have, you know, they didn't get to plan ahead too much for that. I think Hunters have the easiest time clearing that Trebuchet, obviously. If it was in the mid lane, that might be a little bit better, but hey, if it's in the dual lane, maybe they can force, say, Pyromancer or something like that. I think ideal scenario it would have been in the solo lane, so they could have forced a Gold Fury.
Well, that's Ramakami's fault, right, for out pushing the wave,
exactly,
and doing damage to the tower.
Yeah. Or Deathwalker's fault for dying. Maybe Deathwalker did that on purpose, who knows?
That is a level of Smite IQ that I hope to transcend one day. I'm dying early, so my tower takes damage, and the Trebuchet spawns on the side of the map where the Hunter is.
Yeah, I have seen in history, you know, in Smite history, of people just dying to towers at level 1 on purpose before the enemy team's out of base, just to get a few hits in on that tower. Maybe it's good now, who knows?
It could be, yeah, but then that, you know, puts a death in your death
It doesn't
column.
look good, no.
It doesn't look good, which is really what's most important, right? Who cares about winning?
Yeah,
it's all about how your KDA looks at the end of the game. And Oath's KDA is looking great right now. The Hounds, though, I don't know if I mean, maybe let off the gas a little bit, but when the pace of the game that was set was so breakneck by Oath and the rest of the squad, anything else is going to seem slower over the next couple of minutes. That we have not seen that return to Oath gank, Quig ult in, beads now back on everyone from Hex Mambo.
Yeah,
next couple of minutes, maybe shed some off.
Lucky for Johnny, you know, he never got, you know, he had his beads down for the full duration, and he never got punished for that. He did have his ultimate up, but with Deathwalker getting defense online as well, he's a harder gank target. I'm surprised to see this Trebuchet not activated yet. You know, this 2K lead is still a 2K lead, and you know, maybe they were sweating about it a little bit at 7 minutes, at like Hex Mambo would have, but you know, 2K at 11 minutes, that's not too big of a problem. They're scaling at this point.
You want to see the Hounds force maybe a Pyro, Gold Fury fight, something like that? Do you think the Hounds could be doing more?
Scorpion's a start, does give you that global gold. I think the big objectives are a little risky at this point, especially in this meta or on this patch, but maybe a couple more ganks would have been good for sure.
Yeah, a couple more. And still that opportunity from Oath, who has finished up the Brawler Speed Stick, so healing a bit mitigated, namely Deathwalker will be sustaining up throughout some of these fights. Johnny rotates over towards right. Blue buff has been under a bit of pressure and will be under pressure again. It looks like his Oath on a killing spree here towards right as well, but nothing to be had as Johnny has dropped the blue. And a hefty chunk of damage makes its way into the backside of the Loki.
That is pressure though, so they do get to look towards the Pyromancer.
All right, Pyromancer pulled. Zeros though rotates over. This is a big fight early on in this game as the Pyromancer melts down. And it is Hex Mambo who end up taking an ult down from Deathwalker as Crimson backpedals, lets a final judgment fly right down Main Street, but Johnny returns the favor. Ramakami picks up one, but now Oath, with the wheels spinning, could run down the 5th kill of the game, and Johnny will not escape a double kill for Oath. It's a 3-for-1 trade, but Pyro to Hex Mambo.
Yeah, look, not as clean as they would have liked, but Oath still gets the job done in the end. You know, Erupt Crimson kind of just held that ultimate when it was low health for a long time. There must have been a mess of comms there in the end. They didn't want to secure it. They wanted to reset it and fight. I can't imagine they're going to kill Trix Tank here, though.
No, good mez will get Trix Tank out and fine. Are you taking a 3-for-1 trade despite losing a Pyromancer if you're the Hounds, or you think that's kind of a wash?
No, you can take it. It is good overall, but is it good enough to stop them from getting the late game? You know, that's the scary part. You know, they need to get even more than what they're getting so far. Oath's happy, don't get me wrong. You know, he's getting his items online, and that's what a set wants. And we haven't seen too much like set engage Athena ult play just yet, but it's still going to be strong later in the game, and it's going to get even stronger if he gets these items.
It just feels like that Pyromancer felt like he was just hanging out at one sliver of HP for so long.
And Crimson had his ult charge. He could have secured it if he wanted to, but it just seems like his team was saying fight, 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 and he would rather save his ult for a god hit, which he didn't end up getting. He aimed it directly at Deathwalker, but great job by Deathwalker to jump. I would say over it, but he goes under the ground. He jumped under it.
Technically underneath, right, but dodges it nonetheless. Crimson is able to add a couple of assists there, get some more stacks on that Charon's coin as well. is finishing up the Divine Ruin. Zeros snagged an assist in that last fight as well. Levels have equalized over towards mid. Charon's Coin, Divine Ruin, also for Zeros.
We've seen ADCs just hit each other a bit so they look better on the scoreboards. Because
That's right, that's what matters too. Again, we talked scoreboard's very important. And actually, because we have seen some differences, speaking of ADCs, Dude Man Bro uses the beads, avoids the root, rotating in towards his support. As Echrome gallops forward, double taunt in, and it's miraculous from Quig. And Dude Man Bro, who's got his ultimate, takes to the skies. One shot, yes, two shot, immune by the Aegis, and three puts down Echrome. And Dude Man Bro hits them all.
Yeah, maybe even more important, Oath is there to get an assist, even more gold in the pocket for him.
Yeah, another impacted play by the set, but this one really brought to you by Quig on the fantastic rotation through. And Dude Man Bro has made those types of plays happen a couple of times, 2v1s, turning him around, extending out the play. That's what Rom can do, and the ultimate playing a big part there as well. Trixtank is walking in to the Lion's Den right now. Nice dash away and an ultimate from Trixtank. Final Judgment no good, but Oath is strong as Oath is. We'll give Oath another one, and now 8 kills for the Eldritch Hounds, and the pace has been picked back up, but it's not an immediate Gold Fury pull. Instead, it looks like we're going to take away some of the back farm and just naturally steal away the jungle farm, steal away some of that golden experience from Hex Mambo.
And Johnny's just trying to keep up a little bit. You know, they're losing the fights across the map, but he is trying to find this small amount of farm. So not a huge lead on Oath despite the kills, because Johnny is able to take those back camps almost on cooldown when those fights are happening on the other side of the map.
Silver Branch bow for Oath on this set. Ability based in the first couple of items. Silver Branch on his third. Does that make some sense in that build?
Yeah, I mean, it's a god that has a little bit of both. I think he just has some of the highest damage items in the game right now in his build. So apart from crit, obviously, you know, Silver Branch probably the highest damage DPS item there is in the game. I build it in duel all the time. I know how it feels when you finally get that item finished and all of a sudden your numbers are much larger.
You duel main, Ro? Is that your game mode?
No, I'm a Conquest main, but a bit of duel lately. It's been good.
Well, duel helps, right, with maybe some 1v1s, get your mind right for some of those interactions. Silver Branch now, you know, is just a very solid item.
That's right, yeah. Sometimes you need a little Conquest break. You need to not have any
No, never.
Sometimes,
Yeah, I think the Wargs would have loved a Conquest break this morning, but they had to show up bright and early after a long night last night of playing best of 3 sets. But they were able to overcome that and push themselves on to our next matchup that we'll see.
All of a sudden, we're seeing a 2-level lead over here. You know, they were both level 14, hitting each other for the scoreboard, and Dude Man ends up baiting them into a team fight, and he gets a 2-level lead off it.
Yeah, and that's a scary spot to be in if you're Hex Mambo, because Dude Man Bro, at what feels like sometimes even behind levels, likes to get in, get aggressive, and make plays happen. So ahead 2 levels, Dude Man Bro will absolutely push the envelope a little bit forward. Trixtank picks up the bubble to avoid a bit of CC that's been connecting on to this Kumakarna. And at 0-3, Trixtank needs all the help he can get.
Yeah, look, I mean, a good buy. You know, it's happened to him multiple times where he just gets dash taunted, and then he's almost immediately dead. This time, though, Quig may be slightly out of position because his carries are being CC'd right behind him.
But Quig is able to get the beads off of Zeros, and now Oath gets epic uppercutted to the sky. He goes. Oath immediately ults off to the side. Final Judgment flies through. That hits Johnny. And Hex Mambo one by one initiating and then disengaging. Eldritch Hounds desperately looking for a kill. But Purple Buff respawns here. Johnny blinks away as Quig blinks in. Johnny disengages. Dude Man Bro snags a kill onto Echrome, but drops right back down onto the Loki, who ults in. And a return kill from Hex Mambo. And it came just in time, but it could get worse, and it does. Eldritch Hounds find a 2-for-1.
Yeah, they could. I was going to say they could pull the Gold Fury now. Maybe they could do the Chalice. Nope, they're not doing any of the above. They're just going to go ahead, go farm it up. You know, they'll take the small lead they got from those kills. But in the end, still 4K lead, 17 minutes. Now we're getting pretty significant. But Deathwalker is getting closer to that level 20 mark, and so is Johnny, I imagine.
It has been building up. 16 or so levels for the top 3 players on both of the scoreboards, and still the 2-level lead. Not an opportunity for Echrome to catch up now, despite Dude Man Bro dying, because Echrome died earlier on in that fight as well. And it looks like crit on the mind of Dude Man Bro. So you wonder if at some point you start to see some of these tanks for Hex Mambo feel like a Spectral Armor is going to be needed, a Wind Demon into another crit item for Dude Man Bro. Has often been a Deathbringer a bit later on. Do you want to see some Spectral start to get prioritized?
Yeah, maybe, but they also have their core items. You know, we're still pretty early in the game. They've got to get their core items finished. I imagine Deathwalker might be going for an Emperor's Armor here, maybe a Sovereignty. I'm not really sure, but you know, one thing to focus on, yes, Chrome is behind the 2 levels now, but he's the one with the relics. Dude Man Bro, no relics at all. So if Johnny does recognize that, they could, you know, he could come over and shut him down and give that. Well, I doubt he'd give a lead to Echrome, but he would catch him up.
Yeah, a breather. But if Johnny goes down, my goodness, tricked us even. Johnny able to get out. The last ultimate onto Dude Man Bro, kind of that snap ultimate to grab the kill, was fantastic from Johnny.
I think Johnny was in, oh yes, that one as well. But one before that as well, Crimson was aiming an ultimate at Zeros, and he heard Johnny in stealth next to him, heard the footsteps. Quick turn, hits him with the ultimate, but still Johnny staying confident through that and ended up getting a kill.
Yeah, smart play from Johnny, but is it enough? Pyromancer low. Last time got stolen by Hex Mambo. This time no mistake from the Hounds. All eyes on the Pyromancer. Let's secure it and then worry about something else. And the Hounds doing enough, so slightly stagger out the neutral objectives here, and you're kind of setting the stage later on, not allowing Hex Mambo to pull one when you're on the other if the Eldritch Hounds choose to split off.
The important part is they force Johnny out. They poke him out 1 and 2 force his ultimate, so they're able to go ahead and pull that Pyromancer. It's somewhat risk-free, you know. This time they use the ultimate to secure it. I think that's smart, you know, just build that guaranteed lead so we can get, you know, into this team fight stage while the enemy team is still weak.
Deathwalker has just hung out over in solo, farmed up a little bit, was an onslaught of pressure early on in this game, but now the itemization has been able to catch up. Dude Man Bro rolls forward. Why not when Oath and Quig are both on this side of the map? Mez out. Trix Tank, though, loses bubble. And that's pretty low investment from Quig. You know, a fight not necessarily breaking out. Let's just pop the bubble, and now Trix Tank without it for a minute.
It could be important. You know, these guys are going to back by their items. Quig will be ready for another taunt on Trix Tank if they come back to that Gold Fury, and they can pull him in this time and actually maybe blow him up. He's not going to be an easy target to blow up. He's level 13 now, actually ahead of Quig, but I don't think that matters too much. But, you know, maybe they'll could blow him up in a single taunt. You know, that crit is online, and he hasn't got Spectral, so...
Was a lot of pressure on a Trix Tank early, but it's been diversified out since then. Everyone but Zeros on at least 2 deaths. Gold Fury just by Remikami and Dude Man Bro. Oath here to confirm it. Trix Tank will not steal it away. And that's what the Eldritch Hounds need. Of course, you want to push the envelope with some fights, things like that. But it's really the neutral objectives where they've been able to build up that gold lead. And whether Hex Mambo wanted to fight or not, Eldritch Hounds didn't give him the opportunity.
Yeah, and that's where the Assassin matchup into the Mage matchup comes in, or the Guardian matchup as well, comes into in the solo lane, right? The Assassin's able to get that pressure and rotate early and get those objectives, while Deathwalker's like, you know what, 1 more level, guys, 1 more level, and I'll come to the fight. Imagine, you know, when he'll get level 20 soon, he might have that gold in the pocket for his Boomber's Hammer as well, so he should be pretty strong. Then again, he did just spend some gold to finish up a Oni Garb, so he might not have the gold even if he gets level 20 soon.
Right, you can, I mean, literally only one more level for Deathwalker, and both of the solo laners haven't seen much outside of action over on the right. Oath wants to run down in some of these fights. Was Silver Branch, as we already talked about. We stick along with that build. Bloodforge now up next for Oath. And so if you're able to start to snowball some of these kills in these fights, it's hard enough to kill Oath anyway. But a nice item pick up for some sustain. Oh my goodness, Dude Man Bro rolls forward. Aegis down from Echrome. How are the snipes? He's on a horse.
No
Aegis. It's gonna be difficult. One more, and he's got it. Dude Man Bro is gonna hit it every day of the week. And a solo kill for the left side.
You don't see too many of them right now in this meta, so that is a special one. A lot of the Ramas in this tournament hitting their snipes perfectly, and Dude Man Bro, a great example of that.
And now a tier 2 tower being whittled down by the Eldritch Hounds as well. Hex Mambo reeling just a little bit. Level 20 reach by 3 members of the Eldritch Hounds. And a fantastic play from Dude Man Bro to further slow down Echrome. Good news for Hex Mambo is level 20 starting to get reached nonetheless. So XP starting to matter a little bit less, but that gold's still so important at this point in the game, Ro, and a pretty big
400
back.
more gold for that Hades in order to get that Boomber's Hammer. But guess what? You know, off that solo kill, off that tier 2, they've got a lot of gold in their pocket. They're up to the point where they can pull Fire Giant with this very well scaled Hunter build.
You know, smart for Dude Man Bro. He goes back, upgrades Starter, upgrades Deathbringer, and now with Echrome just now respawning, Eldritch Hounds pull at the moment a 4v5. Quig playing Separator. Fire Giant drop though. As Deathwalker is dashed on, he will dash away in trade. 3 members of the Hounds envelop on right. Trix Tank drops the horrific emblem, but has it done enough for the time being? Yes, but now Deathwalker looked at by everybody, and it's taken a while. In fact, Deathwalker lives despite the Eldritch Hounds sending 5 his way. Finally, 1 kill drops a second around the corner as Trix Tank is into the Kumbhakarna passive. Mez, great, but what does it get you? Nothing but time. Johnny has ulted, though, into the back. A nice taunt from Quig delays out this fight. Another snipe from Dude Man Bro helps Oath get Divine. A triple kill on the set. And now Johnny is going to get run down. An ult out and away. A quadra kill is hit, and the set runs wild. 10-0-4 at 23.
What a game for this young jungler in Oath. We've been talking about him all year. You know, he didn't quite make it into the SPL this year. Then he tweeted about, you know what, I'm going to spend another year in the SEC, refine my skills, and then you'll see me next year. At this rate, he could be here any day.
He could be, right? Oath. And it's perfect. We set the, if you can get a couple kills rolling in these fights, Bloodforge is going to feel great and just shielded up the entire fight. 4 kills drop for Oath. And that feels like a back-breaking moment now for the Eldritch Hounds against Hex Mambo. The gold lead was mounting, but now you lose a massive fight, and Fire Giant goes to the Hounds, and they're able to immediately go back and spend up some of that gold. A couple tier 2s in mid, or a couple towers rather in mid, 1 tier 2 over on right. Eldritch Hounds far and away ahead of this game. Hex Mambo is going to need a miraculous defense to keep these Phoenixes alive.
Yeah, when you're Hex Mambo and you're scaling like this, you might be down in a couple kills, but you don't feel like you're losing. Instead of saying you're losing, you just say, well, we're scaling. We'll get there eventually. But now they're saying they're losing. We've got to do something, you know. Deathwalker still hasn't got that Boomber's Hammer online, and honestly, it might be too little too late at this point.
Finally, he's able to pick it up, but how much value are you going to get out of it? Maybe one fight if the Eldritch Hounds are able to do what they want to do, which is win one big fight around this Phoenix and end the game. One more tier 2 tower alive.
I think in order to finish that item as well, he had to sell the Bancrofts and buy a tier 2
Oh my
cloak,
God, you're right.
So not ideal. Very low damage. I mean, he's going to end up going the Lonos Mask anyway, so damage not too important, but that lifesteal does help.
Wow, that's a good IRO. Didn't notice it, but Mambo's Hammer that strong. It is Johnny jumped on in mid. He will ult away. Oath. Without the blink, without the dash in, won't be able to finish off that kill, but Johnny waiting on those beats to come back. Good ult away. Oath, Mezd in place. Not a lot of damage from Zero's connecting. That's a lot of damage, though. Forces Oath out and away.
And ultimate.
And ultimate. In the meantime, Eldritch Hound's able to knock down a tier 2 on right.
Well, I think things will get quiet for a second. You know, Oath's been poked out, and he's there. You know, he's the main story. He's the main character in this story. So yeah, I think they have to reset, but they're going to spend some gold anyway. They're 13k ahead at this point. Maybe they can go over to the Gold Fury. Maybe they can work towards a Trebuchet. But you know, maybe I'd like to see a left Phoenix pushed with this Fire Giant. You know, you don't want to wait too much longer. You know, I think Mambo is still going to be strong at these Fire Giant fights, so you don't want to let them get to that point.
Yeah, Hex Mambo, right. We joke about them saying we're just scaling, scaling. But it's true. The longer the game goes on, the stronger some of the members of Hex Mambo will get. But it is a little while until we get there because some big items hit for the Eldritch Hound. Spectral Armor picked up for Remikami. Not even full build yet as Dude Man Bro, 2 tiers of an item ahead of E-Chrome over on the flip side. And, you know, with 1 minute and 20 seconds left on this Fire Giant buff and as far away ahead as you are, you've got a great relic situation. Granted, both teams do. All your ultimates except for Oath's ready to go, but it should be ready here shortly. I wonder if you can just send Oath mid here, Ro, and see if anyone's able to 1v1.
They don't have too much time to play with, but I would like to see them test the waters, which they are doing. The problem is they've got to get through all of the relics on Mambo's side. You know, usually it takes a couple waves to get these like soft engages, but he's not waiting around.
Great engage onto E-Chrome, who will have to dash away and gallop away. Quig is taking a lot of damage. E-Chrome unable to be taken down. Oath actually in a somewhat lopsided fight. Johnny can make a big play happen. Quig unable to ult in, and Johnny gets the shutdown, the first death of the game onto Oath. And now Hex Mambo rallying around an opening kill. Unreal what's happening here. Hex Mambo underneath their Phoenixes hand over the first death of the game onto Oath and repel the Eldritch Hounds.
Yeah, we were talking about the Hounds being, the Mambo being talking about they are scaling. Oh, now we might be losing. Well, guess what? Now we've scaled. Now we might be winning. You know, now they're just waiting for this Fire Giant. They might even wait for it to get enhanced before they force the issue.
Wow.
Now they're strong, and it's a relatively even game. If you don't look at the towers, which Mambo can get through pretty quickly with an enhanced Fire Giant, then look, we're at an even game, and I would say Hex Mambo do have the later game team comp.
Wow, Hex Mambo, what a turnaround, and it had to happen right then. And actually, I will give credit to Myth. We like to rag on him, but it was a perfect call from Myth. You know, early on in the game, he figured Set would be winning the 1v1 up against the Loki. eventually, regardless of how fed Oath is or not, ends up feeling like maybe a difficult fight to take. And so Johnny makes a big play happen, wins a 1v1. Quig had to ult over there, but didn't end up mattering because Oath died nonetheless. So Johnny makes a big play, and at 4-3, very, very strong on this Loki as well. Fire Giant's going to spawn up here in just under 30 seconds of time. Relics won't be ready for a few of the key members of the Eldritch Hounds. Both of Oaths down, both Aegis and Beads. Same for Dude Man Bro at a very similar timer. Crimson has had a quiet game. Lots of damage from the Thoth, but all eyes have been on Oath. Wonder if it's an opportunity for this Thoth to step up.
Yeah, look, we were talking about it earlier on the desk. You know, one of them looks like the MVP, but really there is a bunch of setup being there as well.
Right.
You know, so Quig's had the help. So
game.
Oath's had the help from Quig, and he's had the help from Crimson as well. So I think, you know, maybe we're getting to the point where that the burst mage that is Thoth comes into play and starts to be the carry for this team, as well as Dude Man Bro being the carry.
Obsidian Shard completed for Erupt Crimson. That's a nice power spike. And, of course, what has been for a while, a fully stacked Charon's coin. This could be the one final fight to end the
Still
game.
confident.
40 seconds shy of Enhanced Fire Giant. Hex Mambo close by, but it's pulled by the Eldritch Hounds. Fire Giant low. Could be a coin flip here as Fire Giant will be secured by the Eldritch Hounds. It's a mid laner with Final Judgment. And now Crimson wrapping behind the rest of this fight. Oath deep in the back line, unable to complete any kills, but the health bars, they are so low for Hex Mambo. There gotta be some kills here for the Eldritch Hounds. One drops, but Remikami and Oath, they are low as well. Johnny makes another play happen, but Dude Man Bro with the one-up, a double kill for the ROM, and suddenly Zero's and Echrome the last alive.
And there is the payoff for having a fed hunter. When that assassin goes in, what, 2 shots, 3 shots was that? Johnny was the star in that team fight. He was rotating in late. They pulled the Fire Giant while he was away, so it was his job to come and make a big impact late in that team fight. Dude Man Bro shuts him down immediately.
Eldritch Hounds have woken up. And Hex Mambo, they make a miraculous Phoenix defense a moment ago, but now they're going to have to make a Titan defense happen. Quig close to Echrome. Echrome taunted through, and Echrome drops for the 3rd kill of the fight for Dude Man Bro. Titan under siege, and it is tanky, but Zeros, I don't think you've got the damage to delay this game out any further. The Eldritch Hounds, they have shown up, and will they continue to show up as some respawns are in, but not in time? Eldritch Hounds take the game.
Wow, incredible play for Hounds to just hit the gas pedal from minute 1. You know, Oath does a perfect job of what he needed to do and just like carries his team through the early game with great setup from his team as well. And then when his job is done, Dude Man Bro, Erupt Crimson, they step up. Now's my time. We're in team fights. We have the big damage, and we're going to win the fight and get the Fire Giant.
Yeah, Oath was able to rest a little bit later on in the game, take a breather. Right, his job is done. You can relax. And Crimson and Dude Man Bro really step up. And then the front line for the Hounds, of course, is consistent as always. Quig on the Athena really disrupted, burnt some beads off. We saw some great taunts throughout that game. And the Eldritch Hounds in that fast-paced play style, able to build up this massive gold lead. And I think we're still seeing, even though in a fast-paced game, the Hounds are able to build all this up, it still takes just about 30 minutes to end a lot of these games. So there are opportunities for comebacks, but not in this one for Hex Mambo. Eldritch Hounds able to take the game. They will move on to the winner side of the bracket. Hex Mambo dropped down to the loser side of the best of 3s. We'll take a quick break, then the desk will break this one down.
Hey, wait, what did it win?
You win the respect.
You're telling me an alien wore this?
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, that was a good cut.
Messaging him to mute.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course, and I can probably watch a stream on the side.
Content's gonna look good.
Pretty good, pretty good.
And with that, our second best of one of the day is now complete. The Eldritch Hounds find a win over the Hex Mambo. And one thing really, Mifflin, when it comes down to it, something that we talked to Crimson right before the game went through. We said, hey, you kind of like some of these guys. Yeah, I'm pretty good at Thoth. People probably shouldn't let me play Thoth. Well, Hex Mambo let him play Thoth. Kind of went on tear. Then we talked about how good Oath is on set. Said, teams probably shouldn't give him set. And now we see why both of those definitely should not be happening. Oath and Crimson here really dominating throughout this set. Obviously, everybody's stepping up. Man Bro as well on that opposite side of the map, but for the duo lane. But man, the Hounds feel like they just got a dream draft this game, Mifflin.
Yeah, great draft and executed properly as well. They said early game was where we want to play, and that's exactly what they do. They targeted the 3 weak points of Hex Mambo's draft in that early phase, and in doing so were able to transition themselves into numerous neutral objectives. I thought maybe there was a little bit of intrigue in that mid game once Hex Mambo was able to steal away the Pyromancer and I believe pick up 1 kill for none. But from there, the Eldritch Hounds, I looked up at the gold charts and I was like, oh, they were already pretty far ahead. It wasn't that massive of a deal, and we're able to continually keep up that pressure. I think this really was just the match of which style of play is going to work out on the day, and this time around, North Americans' early aggressive styling was able to outpace Hex Mambo and was enough to disallow them from getting to that late game 30-some-odd minute 5-on-5 engagement from an even state. Still went 30, but it was a tough 30 for Hex Mambo. Felt like there were maybe a couple opportunities where Deathwalker could have rotated out a little bit sooner to alleviate some of that pressure, but I believe it was Roe that said he was just waiting for that next level, just needs one more item before he was ready, and never quite got to that point. And that's something that I think Polar Bear Mike has gone on record of saying of, there's only one portion of the game that you get to play every single match, and it's the early game, so you should probably get pretty good at that part. Hex Mambo decided that they're going to put all their eggs in the basket of a late game team fight, and well, they never got to that point.
And we're not able to do so. And when we finally did get to that point, I mean, Oath is already 8 or 9-0 to get to there, 1-0 out of Crimson. It's something that said, if you want to win these late game team fights, you can't let the carries go undying. You can't let these carries go untouched throughout the stage of this game. Oath didn't end up falling one time, but wow, 20,000 damage for all 3 of the carries for the Eldritch Hounds. Right behind them, Remikami at 18,000. Quick putting up some good defensive numbers for his team and really being able to allow his team to get these kinds of plays, those confounds, those taunts coming out from the Athena, able to set up for Crimson, set up for Oath, and even then for Remikami to really just be more of a nuisance than anything in those back lines.
Yeah, I think you're right to highlight Quick. He was almost like Mother Duck, just walking around the map, and he had his children behind him, following him around, making sure that they were always ready to follow up on that confound. Multiple times, Johnny was trying his best to either stealth into an engagement or stealth out of it, and it just felt like that ability wasn't allowed to be used because confound was always hot on his heels. So Quig finds himself a very strong game in that initiator role, and the Eldritch Hounds prove that, well, North America can still compete.
Yeah, North America, with this win here out of the Eldritch Hounds, it's going to put both of the North American squads that came into today now facing off on the winner's side of the bracket. So it'll be the Hounds facing off against the Kowloon Wardens. We'll get to take a look at the bracket to see how the remainder of our day, now that we're jumping into our best of 3s, will look. It's going to be North America for the first half, and then Europe. Hex Mambo and Niflheim Wargs will face off in the second best of 3. Loser of that goes home. Winner of that will have to face the loser of this matchup. And we could potentially see still 2 North American teams qualify in, or there's still that chance for 1 North American and 1 European team to qualify to day 4.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm most excited, I think, for this match 14, best of 3, Niflheim Wargs up against Hex Mambo. This is 2 squads that have got a lot of tenure playing against each other, a lot of time in the European SEC practicing and thriving and honing their styles. So if anybody knows how to beat this Hex Mambo late game, it should probably be them. But that said, Hex Mambo has been pretty successful across the pond. It's going to be a hard task. Either way, we got plenty of great games coming up.
Yeah, especially this North American one that's going to be coming up next. Well, that'll be coming up right after our break, so do not miss it. We're going to have the Hounds against the Wardens right after this.